I want to talk about a little on ECOS, Electric Culture of Safety, and give you a description of what ECOS is all about. A lot of folks don't understand this group, and so they're kind of shy of it, and they don't understand what's going on nationwide, actually North American wide now. So back in the day when my kids were little, I'd come in on a conversation with their friends. They'd be talking with their friends, and out of the blue, I would walk up and say, what the, who the, why the, where the, when the, and they would just start busting up laughing. They just thought it was just so stupid, and it was just so funny. But I want to give you the what the, and the why the when the, and all that regarding ECOS, Electric Culture of Safety. So this came up, this idea was given to me about a year ago, and I went to the Certified Utility Safety Professionals at the IP conference in Dallas, Texas a year ago, basically. And I told them this idea. And I said, look, guys, I need you guys to listen up. I got this idea, and we're going to start doing Linemen Safety National Webinars nationwide, all across this country, every single month. And I want you guys to come in to South Carolina to our Live Line Training Center. That's where we're at today. And you all are going to share. We'll get a professional videographer. We're going to get them done. And the recordings, whoever's a part of ECOS are going to get the recordings. So Brady Hansen calls ECOS, he calls it echoes. Echoes of linemen that have given their lives and their blood has been shed for us to pay attention and become safer as a community, a line team. And that's what ECOS really is truly about, so that we come together as a line team nationwide. I got an email this morning, and I was going to read it to you. It's on my phone. I took a picture of it. And this guy wrote me just this morning about what ECOS is doing. He's like, man, brother, you're not going to believe what ECOS is doing nationwide. How it's breaking down the walls of division that divide us between the cooperatives, the munis, the IOUs, the contractors, and how the non-union, union, how it's just breaking all these down, and we're becoming a team. And he said, he told me, he says, you're not going to believe what's going on out here because of you guys, Mr. Eric, coming together, all of us, all these speakers coming together and sharing freely, giving back to the best giving back to the very best. And that's what the Electric Culture of Safety is about. It's a belief right here. And we're sharing safety freely. Everybody still has a job. Everybody still makes their money. So we're not taking from anybody's little nest egg and anybody's little thing that's going on to feed their families. But we're coming together as a team freely and sharing the heart and our minds of what safety is all about. Okay? So with that said, that's what ECOS is about. I want to show you PG&E. This is a great example of what we're trying to look for. So whoever sponsors, PG&E flew Eric out and took care of those expenses and his lodging. But I want to show you this banner. It's 8 foot tall, 20 feet wide. So you all are welcome to bring a banner ahead of time, ship it to us way in advance. We're going to save this banner. So every time PG&E sponsors another speaker, maybe Eric again, this banner will be in our storage for ECOS. And then table topper. So bring a table topper too. So your company and what you're doing is all about in your presentation and in your recording. So with that said, Mr. Eric Harris, he's going to be speaking here. I met him about a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago, out of Ukiah, California. And I spent 2 days with our Bierer trailer truck with lineman safety and tool training. And I got to know Eric. And we became brothers. We became friends. Like, it's real easy to tell and know when someone's sincere. And for whatever reason, fate and destiny, for whatever reason, when we started ECOS, he was one of the first guys that I wanted to participate and be part of this. So when I brought this up to Eric, man, he was just like, hey, I'm in. And I knew he was going to be in. And so he's here today. So, Mr. Eric, welcome, brother.
All right, that's a wrap. Turn the cameras off. We're done. All right, cool. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate the intro. Glad to be here. I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself, but before we do that, this is a safety meeting, right? Just like any other safety meeting. So let's make sure that no one should be driving during this video. If you are in a vehicle, My expectation is that you are pulled over on the side of the road somewhere, you are not driving, you are parked in a safe location, and you know your best way to a thoroughfare in case a safety incident finds you. And if you are in a facility that you're unfamiliar with, please make sure that you know what your exit strategy is in order to get out, please. Active shooter, we talk about that a lot too. So an active shooter, remember, if we have an active shooter type situation and you need to get out, please get out and scramble. Best place to hide is next to an engine block on a car down by the wheel. Let the vehicle take the brunt of the fire. But if you can't get out and you have to hunker down indoors, please barricade, call or text 911. And remember, anything inside of an office facility can be used as a weapon, all right, if you need to take them out. And I learned from a corporate security guy from PG&E some time ago that the best thing to do is if you need to engage the weapon first and then take out the assailant. Don't become part of that mess. Let the paramedics finish the rest of it for you. But let me go into a little bit about myself real quick. So, been with PG&E for 18 years. I've got some stories I'm going to share today about some experiences that I've had, and hopefully they will reflect on experiences that you've had and can enlighten your path along your journey, whether it be in a utility or in life. So, been with them for 18 years. Got 4 kids. I got a 24-year-old, 22-year-old, a 20-year-old, and a 6-year-old. And my 6-year-old you'll see in a couple of slides as we cruise through the PowerPoint. And he, along with the rest of my family, are my inspiration to work safely. And that's where we need to bring this today, is to bring it home. So hopefully there'll be some sort of impact at the end of this conversation, this meeting, and everybody will take a little bit home, and maybe you can change the way you view your culture with family and with life. When I started with PG&E, I started in substation construction. I stayed with them all the way throughout, journeying out as a substation construction electrician. Awesome. Wouldn't have done it any other way. Best department I could think of in PG&E. And once I journeyed out, I was in San Francisco, spent a lot of time in San Francisco, and figured out I needed to figure a way to climb up the ladder and get back into safety, where my passion is. And a couple of jumps and hurdles here, and good choices and bad choices, and here I am as a safety supervisor for the North Coast. I've got just about all of Northern California from the Golden Gate up on the coast side, all the way up to Oric, I think, is our last point of interest up at North Coast. So glad to be here, honored to be here. Thank you for the intro. Appreciate that. This is something. I hope this becomes a lot bigger than it is now. And we have success. I think we will. This is what we need. We need these kinds of conversations, the hard conversations that we don't really get up front all the time. We need to make this work. So let me, if we can, pan over to the keys of life. I'll pull it up. I've got it on a slide too, but I'll pull that up on the slide, but a little small for me to read. But here, this is PG&E's keys to life. These are the rules, if you will, or the keys that we need to follow in order to be safe. All right? So we deliver for our hometowns, we serve our planet, and we lead with love, right? So, and I'll talk a little bit about the leading with love. That was a new one for us at PG&E. Some people took it differently than others, but you know what? Leading with love is not always hugs and kisses. It's sometimes getting down to the hard stuff, right? It's talking about what we do wrong, what we can do better, how we can fix it. That's leading with love. Leading with love embraces every aspect of love, not just, love, all right? So let's go with that first. And then the keys to life. Conduct pre-job safety briefings. So what is that, right? So what is a pre-job safety briefing? Everybody's got a tailboard, a JHA, a JSA, a JSSA, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. I've got a good example. But the tailboard needs to be a good communication amongst the entire crew doing the job. Whether you're on a crew or you're at home, you're doing something at home, that needs to be an accurate communication on what you're doing. Everybody needs to know what their roles are. They need to know what the safety issues are. You need to be able to identify any hazards you have and mitigate them. It's pretty simple. When we first rolled out the pre-job briefings in the JHAs, we had a lot of feedback at the PG&E. A lot of people were complaining about it. It's going to take another 30 minutes on our day. It's going to add time. It's going to take away from our work. And we actually did a test. And we sat people down, foremen and crews, sat them down on tables, gave them a mock scenario, and had them do tailboards and JHAs. And guess what? It took about 10 minutes. So we proved that it doesn't take long to get your point across, have everybody on the same page so they can be successful at the end of the day. All right? Safe driving principles, holy cow. California's got some laws I think that we don't have out here in South Carolina. I've seen a lot of different stuff. You know, you travel across the system, but nevertheless, PG&E stand is you drive cell phone free. I can't tell you how many people I see driving around with their cell phones to ear, you know, in the public while I drive around the city, Bay Area, across the system. It's dangerous. It's dangerous when you see someone on a cell phone or you see someone reading a book or eating their lunch. You know, their attention's taken away from the road, and that can be very, very, very dangerous for you driving and your family as well. PPE, that's another one. You know, let's talk about PPE for just a brief second here. So, what is PPE? Gloves are PPE, right? Keep your hands warm, keep your hands safe, all right? Safety glasses, the correct safety glasses, you know, approved safety glasses that your utility approves for you. Those are safe, those will keep your eyes safe. And when we talk about keeping your eyes safe, what does that mean, right? We have people online that hunt, fish, have hobbies they do outside of work. You know, what happens if you lose an eye? Say you lose eyesight because you're chipping away at a concrete slab or you're drilling into a slab and you put hilties or something in and you're going to anchor down something and a piece of concrete pops up, hits you in the eye because you're not wearing goggles on top of your glasses. What's that going to do for you? What kind of impact is it going to have on you? Especially if you're someone that's looking down a scope in the late fall, you know, and doing what you love and you can't see now. What are you going to do next, right? Think about that next time you're hammering away on something, taking a chance. PPE is there for a reason. It is the last line of defense, but it is there for a reason to keep you safe. All right. Electrical safety testing and ground is. I'm gonna the 4 and 5. I kind of lock in together, lock out, tag out, and grounding and testing. All right. We cannot assume that we're in a safe situation when we're working. All right. Someone takes a clearance, they switch out a line, they switch out a bus, a station, they switch it out. It is your responsibility, the person working on it, to make sure that those clearances are accurate. All right. And then once you do that, then you can test it, and then you can ground it and go to work. And when we ground stuff, grounding is not putting the clamp on so it's tight as you can get it by your hand, and then throwing the live clamp up on the cable of the bus and thinking you're okay. All right, that circuit needs to be as tight as you can get it on the ground, on your ground reference, and the same up on the cable or the bus. We don't need to be taking chances and getting complacent with that. That's how we get people killed. All right, that's very, 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 very dangerous task if you don't do it the right way. All right, following confined space rules. We've actually lost people in the industry who don't follow confined space rules. All right, you get someone that goes down inside a vault, and they go down because of gaseous atmosphere, and you go in after them, chances are you're going to go down too. That's why we use air monitors. That's why we need to have good rescue plans. You have to have a good rescue plan if you're going to be going down in a confined space. Suspended load rules. I can't tell you how many people I've worked with in the past and seen working in the past who over-rig. And what's that mean? They over-rig, they put more rigging on the crane and the equipment than they need because guess what? They're taking a guess. They're taking a chance. They have no clue how much that load weighs. They don't know what they can lift. They know the crane can lift it, but they don't know what it weighs, so they over-rig. We need to know what the load charts say, what the crane capacities are, and what rigging we need to use so we can do it accurately. Safety at heights, another one. What's the major killer of people in utility? Slips, trips, and falls. Falls is the number one killer of people in utility. Falling off of stuff, all right? So when you're asked to put a lanyard on or harness a lanyard on to work on a transformer that's 9 feet off the ground, and you ask yourself, well, why am I doing that? What's a harness going to do for me? What's going to happen if I'm wearing a harness and I fall off a bank and it's only 9 feet off the ground? How's that going to help me? Well, guess what's going to happen? Your lanyard's not going to deploy. Your shock absorber is not going to come out, right? But guess what's not going to happen? This thing's not going to hit the ground. It's going to upright you on the way down. Your knees might get jacked up. Your feet might get jacked up a little bit, but your noggin's going to stay intact, and you're going to be able to live to see the next day. So you might get hurt. Might get hurt coming down, but guess what? You're not going to land on your head, break your neck and your back, and kill yourself. So think about those things when we're doing our work, all right? Excavation procedures. Can't tell you how many people don't know how to excavate. They don't know how to bench properly. They don't know how to use shoring properly. Another killer, right? You have a collapse on you when you're working in a trench, no good. They're not pulling you out. And if they try to pull you out, that means they're digging for you. They hook you up to a sling or a rope and try to pull you out of that trench. And chances are you're going to either die or you're going to be really, really bad off. So please follow all those procedures. And the last one down at the bottom, which we can't see too well, but it's following hazardous environment procedures. All right. The environments we work in the utility are very unforgiving. Whether it's gas, whether it's electric, it doesn't matter. Hydro. If we're working in these facilities, we know what the hazards are. We need to be able to respect those hazards and learn how to control them. All right. So that's what the Keys to Life represents for PG&E. PG&E's done a good job hollowing these things out, lining out all 10 of them. They've changed over the years, but I think we're in a good place now. So I wanted to share that with you before we get going. Let's get going into this thing. Any questions before we go? Go ahead. Anything on there?
No questions.
Awesome. Please ask. If you want to ask questions, please ask questions. I'm here all day. No, I'm not here all day. All right. Let's do this. So, contrary to a lot of presentations you've probably seen in the past, this is not one of those presentations where I'm going to share bar graphs and stats, pie charts. Those are all neat and all, but they do have a place. They do have a place for trending. But bar graphs and charts and pie charts and whatnot, they're not going to keep you safe. They're not going to get you home to your loved ones at the end of the day. The only person that can do that is you. And that's what we're going to talk about today is you. All right? And we're going to talk about a couple of simple tools and phrases that we can use to help us get to that point. But ultimately, today's conversation is about me, you, your loved ones, your spouse, your kids, and those people that support you on the outside. All right? That's what matters at the end of the day, is how you get home. All right? The other thing I want to talk about real quick, if you look down at the bottom of the slide, there's a common phrase you may have seen from time to time, and it's talking about your 3-foot world. I think it originally came to light from a rock climber somewhere, brought it up to Mark Owen in one of his books. But let's talk about your 3-foot world. What does that mean to you? All right? 3-foot world, that's this. Put your hands out beside you. That's your 3-foot world. The only thing you can control 100% is your 3-foot world. All right? Whatever's within your 3 feet. If it's outside your 3 feet, yeah, we can mitigate it. But this is your 3-foot world. Make sure that you do everything you can to control just that. Your tools, if you have a knife on your belt, it should be closed if it's collapsible, right? If your tools are on your belt, they should be secured. If you're working at heights and you're working heavy equipment and tools, they should be tethered off. Think about those things, right? Every time you go up in a pole or up in a basket in a man lift and you're working with tools, you're creating a line of fire hazard and a drop zone hazard for the people working underneath you. What are you doing to assure that your coworker is safe? Think about that, right? This is your 3-foot world. Make sure that you can control it. All right. So safety built in common sense. That's the title of my my speech today, is safety built in common sense. So funny thing is, and on the next slide I'll talk to it a little bit, but what is safety built on common sense? So I'm going to have to read this one for verbatim off the PowerPoint, so forgive me for that. But common sense, defined by the Cambridge Dictionary, the basic level of practical knowledge and judgment that we all need to help us live a reasonable and safe way. So think about that for a second. Let that set in for a second. A reasonable and safe way. All right? All right. And then there's a bunch of other definitions. You can read them if you like. I'm not going to read them to you. But let that sit in for a second, what common sense is. Because common sense is different to a lot of people. You know, not everybody sees common sense the same way. So let's think about that for a second. All right? So look at the second bullet, if you will, on this guy, right? And it's funny because as you grow up and as you live your life, you know, you'll hear people say that not everybody's born with common sense. Not true. All right. So common sense works in different ways. All right? So if you grow up in the city, you know, your common sense is going to be what's taught to you by your family. Your upbringing builds to what your common sense is. All right. You may be a little bit more alert to, people on the streets. There may be other hazards that you experience than someone that grows up in the country, right, or on a farm. All right. So your common sense is going to be a little bit different than theirs. So make sure that you understand that. All right. Everybody is born with common sense. It's just how it's taught to them and how they utilize it. All right. And make sure you really take that to heart, because you're going to run into some folks, and I've got a description here in a minute, that they're going to blow your mind. You're going to assume they know what to do, and they don't know what to do. And that's why it's your job to make sure that you're able to educate them. All right. So here's some common sense guided by human performance. Here's a whole bunch of cool catchphrases on here. A lot of people know them. Star's not uncommon. Accountability, choices, tailboard job briefings. We talked about them when we talked about the keys to life from PG&E, and I'm going to talk about them here in a minute as well. But catchphrases, they're awesome, but ultimately at the end of the day, it's you. All right, it's how you use these. It's how you understand these. It's how you perceive them, and it's how you project them onto the employees that you're working with or your family. All right. Please make sure you take that to heart. We have to. This is the only way we're going to become as good as we want. All right. Catchphrases, kind of went over there a little bit, but as we go through this, the top line is one of my favorites that I put together, but I'll read it out verbatim. As we go through the presentation together, we'll discover the ease of incorporating common sense in everyday activities, whether at work, play, home, fishing, hunting, hiking, boating, at the gym, or jumping out of a perfect little airplane. So this is not just about utility work. This is not just about climbing a pole, making sure you're tethered in. This is not about going up on always in a man lift and making sure you're on the right bus. This is about your entire life. All right? Common sense starts with your entire life. Starts at home. This starts at home. All your safety starts at home. Putting up Christmas tree lights. Holy cow! That's one of the biggest fall hazards we have in the country with people, is putting up Christmas lights. Go figure that one out. Walking ladders. Anybody ever walk a ladder before? I bet you have. I bet you've been on an A-frame ladder. You've been up there and thought, okay, I can go another 3 feet, and you figure out, oh, cool. If I lean the ladder left to right, it'll walk, right? Bet you've done that. I've done that. Is it safe? No, it's not safe. That thing buckles, you come down, you're in a world of hurt just in time for Christmas. So think about that the next time you try that, all right? But that's where we need to bring this. We need to bring this home. Let me jump over. Communication. Here we go. This is another one of my favorite ones. Three-way communication, the third bullet item down, is one of my favorites. And three-way communication, we had a hard time selling for three-way communication in the beginning when we started talking about it a lot, because people didn't quite understand what three-way communication is. So think about it. Three-way communication. You're sending a message to someone, they're replying back, confirming your message, and you're confirming that it's correct. So every single person that's on this call today, this webinar today, every single person that's going to watch this in the future, guess what? You've been to McDonald's. That's right. Or Burger King, or Starbucks, or somewhere else. Every time you go up to the drive-up window and you order a drink or food or lunch, guess what you're doing? Three-way communication. That's 100% correct. They're acknowledging that you're there. You're placing your order. They're repeating it back to you, and you're confirming it's correct. That is 100% three-way communication. Every single person's done it. And if you haven't done it, try it sometime. But nevertheless, that's the easiest way to put through what three-way communication is. That's the same communication you should have in your life and in the field. Same exact communication. You should be stating a message. You should be requesting that they repeat it back to you, and then you confirm it. That's three-way communication. Speak up. All right, this is another one that we're driving pretty hard right now at PG&E, is a speak up culture, getting people to talk. All right, whether it's a tailboard bringing up an issue that you don't agree with, or hazard that maybe the crew lead hasn't identified or someone else hasn't identified, speaking up is very, very important. All right, that's the only way you're going to get your point across. All right, I always think about it this way: if I got something going around up in the old noggin, I'm thinking about it, and I'm not too sure if I should bring it up, you know what? Someone else might be thinking that too. Why not? Why not jump out of my comfort box and bring it up? You know, there are no stupid questions. And once we get through that comfort zone, it's going to be a lot easier. But remember, this is about you, right? This is about you taking that choice and taking that leap and taking a chance and asking that question and getting clarification. And remember, if you can't get clarification the first time from the first person you're talking to and you need to go higher and get it, right? Get clarification or search for clarification until you get the answer that you need. Don't stop. Because once you stop and you settle for an answer, even though you might think it's not the right answer, that's when you're starting to set yourself up for failure, right? Make sure you do take the chance and speak up. See something, say something. That's another good one, right? That's another good term you'll see out there running around the utility business and in almost any walk of life. All right, if you see something and you get that furry feeling that's going on, that fuzzy feeling that something's wrong, not right, you need to say something. Right? Don't let it be. Don't try to work through the hazard thinking that you're going to be successful at the end. See something, say something, bring it up. All right? And your input matters. Your input is very, very important. And the more comfortable you are to speak up now, the more comfortable you are to speak up tomorrow, the next day, and the next day, and the next day. And hopefully, your speaking up will promote someone else that may be a little bit less comfortable to speak up as well. All right? Your comfortability with talking is going to end up bridging someone else and make them more comfort. And then at the end of the day, if you've got an entire crew talking about the tailboard, talking about the hazards, talking about the mitigations, that's success. That's what success looks like. Identifying it all, right? Yeah, we can't identify everything, but identifying it all. So use tact. Okay, so I worked for a gentleman some years ago at PG&E. He had no tact. He liked to talk. He was a talker. He loved to talk, but he had no tact. All right, very, very abrasive individual. And I came up with this one on my own. This phrase on the bottom, and it is: "Speak your mind with tact, earn the respect of many. Speak your mind without, earn the respect of few." All right. So I quickly realized that this guy, he had his own little group of people that worked with him, that it respected him, and they were similar to the way he worked. All right. So. But he was very abrasive, like I said. He was very abusive. And I had to learn to work around that. And I learned to work around that, and I became a better person for it. But you got to think about that when you're in life, right? No matter what you're doing, if you're gonna speak to someone, you need to speak respectfully, and you need to speak tactfully. If you can't do that, don't expect a positive outcome from that conversation. All right? It can be a really hard one. All right. Angel Island. So I want to talk about tailboard a little bit, and this is my best way to explain tailboards and what tailboards mean to me, all right, and my impact with them. So I think it was in 2000, I tried doing the math on my fingers the other night, and I couldn't figure it out, but I think it was in 2011 or 2012, I did an Earth Day with my older daughter at the time. She's 24 now, so I did it with her at Angel Island. Angel Island's a really cool historical island right inside the bay, San Francisco Bay. If you ever get a chance to go out there, it's a really cool place to go visit. So Angel Island, we go out to Angel Island, and it's a cleanup day. And there were a bunch of people, PG&E people, community people, you name it. They took us out there on the ferry, took us out, got everybody together. There must have been 150 people there. So at the beginning, they did a general safety tailboard. Awesome, right? I think at the time I was sub-foreman, but I'm not entirely sure. So they did the tailboard. Then they asked for volunteers for work groups. They asked for anybody with leadership skills, and I raised my hand. So I was given an opportunity to lead a crew on Angel Island. So I go out there on Angel Island, and the pressure washer is the kicker to this one. So I go out there on Angel Island. I've got 9 people with me and my daughter. The ranger gives me a pressure washer. They give me 200 foot of hose. I hook up the hose, hook up the pressure washer. They give me a bunch of wands and scrapers and push brooms. And our job is to use the pressure washer and clean off all the aluminum docks on Angel Island. All right? Pretty easy task. So, me being a leader in the field, coming from substation, very heightened safety background. We go out there, my 9 people, we go out to the docks, and we start talking about what we're going to do. We have a tailboard. No documents, no written documents. This is a conversation between me and my new crew and my daughter. So we're out there, we're talking about the tasks, who's going to do what. I'm assigning people. These 3 people go do the docks. These three people start brushing up on the upper docks and lower docks, whatever it was, scraping the docks off. And then I had 3 people assigned to the pressure washer. All right, so everybody understood their jobs. Everybody was pretty comfortable. We talked about hazards, slip, trips, and fall hazards. We're talking about, the situation out there. It was decent weather. It wasn't real warm, but it wasn't real cold. It wasn't raining or anything. And everybody's pretty comfortable with what we're going to do. So then I said, okay, cool. And I grabbed one of the guys that was on the pressure washer crew, and I said, okay, let's go turn the water on the pressure washer, make sure we don't dry start it, and I want you to start it up. And that's a pretty big pressure washer. I think it was 11 horsepower. I don't remember. Something. It was pretty hefty, but it was pull start still. And he looked at me like deer in the headlights. And I thought, well, what's going on now? Well, what are we doing? And he had no clue how to start a pressure washer. Holy cow, I've been starting engines since I was a little tiny kid, and so do my kids as well, right? And this guy doesn't know how to start a pressure washer. Culture shock, right? But I assumed that the 9 people that were assigned to me knew how to do simple tasks, like pressure washing and cleaning off a dock. So real quick, I realized that, holy cow, I've got a group of people that have no experience with motorized equipment. So I said, okay, let's re-tailboard. And we re-tailboard, and they loved it. They ate it up. We primed it, we put the choke on, turned the start switch on. Everybody got a chance to pull start it. They were in heaven. This is the first time they'd ever started a small engine in their life. And then I started to think, well, hey, I've got people from a different environment, right, coming into Angel Island. They want to do a good job, but they're not comfortable doing it, so here I need to teach them how to do it. So it was another re-tailboard moment. So I did that. We re-tailboarded on how to run the pressure washer. Okay, so at that time I assumed, all right, this is my assumption, everybody was on board and good. Everybody knew how to run it. We're set up for success. We had buckets, we had the soap, we had everything ready to go on the docks. Everybody was understanding what their jobs are. We all had safety glasses on and gloves. We're all good to go. So we rolled this thing out, the pressure washer out to the dock, and the job was we were going to spray off the dock, get it wet, soap it down. The other group was going to come in, they were going to brush down the dock, and then the pressure washer crew was going to rinse down the docks with the pressure washer. Pretty simple, right? Simple task. All right, my daughter, 12 years old at the time, she was good to go. She knew what to do, she knew all about that stuff. They were brought up that way. So we get out to the docks, get ready to do the pressure washer. One of the ladies on the pressure washer crew, she gets the wand, walks out there, pulls the trigger, and it sent her about halfway across the island. No, it only sent her about 3 feet back, but it scared her pretty good. And I thought, oh, wow, stop. We need to stop again and talk about this, because no one understood that a pressure washer, especially one that big, when you hit the trigger, is going to throw you back. So we stopped, and I pulled the crew together, and we talked about it, and everybody got a chance to pull the trigger, and I thought it was the best thing in the world, pulling the trigger and getting the spray up in the air and seeing what the kick felt like. It was awesome, but we stopped. And that's the key here. We stopped. We re-tailboarded. We spoke about it. Everybody understood what to do when moving forward with the task. Everybody understood how the equipment worked, and we were successful. All right? At that point, we went to work, sprayed down the docks, brushed them down, off we went. All right? So that's a really good example of having a tailboard and stopping when you're unsure. Right? Stop when you're unsure. Speak up. They spoke up. We don't know how to run this thing. What are you talking about? Re-tailboard. Re-educate the crew. Make sure they understand the task before you do the task. Identify any hazards, and then move along. It was success. Success at the end of the day, and they were so happy that they got to run a pressure washer and use tools that they've never used before in their life. Awesome. That's what a good tailboard, in my view, looks like. Those are the good tailboards that you need to be doing in the field with your crews. All right. Any questions? Any takers? Nobody? One question?
Yeah, there was a comment.
Oh.
Jonathan says, generationally, there seems to be a gap in common sense and will require more training and patience.
Hey, Jonathan, thank you for bringing that up. You're 100% correct. We do have a generation gap when it comes to common sense. Yeah, and the training and the patience is spot on. You know, you are 100% correct. Patience is going to go a long way. It really will. And we need to make sure that we're patient with a lot of the newer kids and newer generations coming on. But remember the common sense, the definition of common sense. When we go back to that, everybody has it. It's just how you use it and how you're brought up and how it's presented to you, right? So everybody has common sense. It's just it's in different layers and different levels. So, but yes, I agree 100% that patience is it's gonna be tasking at times. But we need to make sure that we stay on point and communicate and keep that communication going. That's the only way that the people that are lacking the knowledge and the skills behind that common sense are going to become better, is for you to teach them. So yeah, appreciate that comment. Right on, Jonathan. Thanks for asking. All right. 2-minute rule. This is one of my favorite ones in the field, the 2-minute rule. So the 2-minute rule is, to me, is a 2-minute rule, a 5-minute rule, a 30-minute rule, an all-day rule, whatever you want to call it rule, right? But the 2-minute rule, all right? It allows us to take the time needed to regroup. What does that mean? What does it mean to regroup? That means you need to stop what you're doing. Something's going on. If you're taking the 2-minute rule, something's going on. You need to stop what you're doing, think about it, regroup, gather your crew together, whether it's at home or at work, and get back on the same page. Ground yourselves. Make sure that you understand what's going on before you proceed. All right? 2-minute rules are awesome, right? It's a very, very good term, but remember that 2-minute rules don't need to be 2 minutes. 2-minute rules can be all day long. If you need to shut a job down, if you need to pause prompt in the middle of doing work because you are unfamiliar or you feel unsafe, please do it. Please don't take a chance. All right? We're risk takers. By nature, we take risks. But remember, some risks will put us in the ground, and some risks will let us learn and become better. All right? So make sure that you use that 2-minute rule. Use it, abuse it. All right? It's one of the only tools out there that you have in your belt that we talk about that actually has a definition that you can pause prompt and take as long as you want to get back on page. Please make sure you take it. All right? And be comfortable. All right? Take it as many times as you need to take it. All right? If you're grounding, you feel uncomfortable grounding, you know, if you don't think you're doing the right thing, if you think you're putting yourself in a bad situation or you're too close to conductor, take that 2 minutes, kick back, let's talk about it, all right? Have a conversation. Nothing's going to hurt. You might get the exact answer you're looking for, or you might not. You might get an opportunity to ask someone else rather than just your crew lead or your foreman, you know. You might have to go up the food chain. But take that 2-minute rule, set yourself up for success, and please, by all means, when you do so, make sure the rest of the people that you're working with understand what you're doing, and that you're not just stopping and stale in the air or on the ground. They might think there's something going on outside the 2 minutes that they need to react to. So make sure you keep yourself safe when you're taking that 2-minute break, 10-minute break, 15-minute break. All right, brothers and sisters keepers. There's a one that's evolved over time, right? First it started out as brothers keepers, and then we added sisters keepers in there. Why? Because that makes sense. We've got lots of ladies out there in the utility industry and in life working with us hand in hand. So brothers and sisters keepers is where we're going with it. Integrity is defined basically by what you do when no one's looking, right? That is integrity. That is the gist of integrity. What is it that you're doing when no one's looking? Are you following the rules? Are you working safe? Are you taking shortcuts? Are you doing something that's risky? Right? What is it? That defines your integrity. And then humility, and I got another slide that has a brief on humility too, but humility is a big one, right? So if you do something wrong and you can own it, and you can speak to it, then you've proven that you have a certain level of humility, and that's going to go a long way. It's when you do something wrong and you don't own it, that's when you start losing the crowd, right? When you try to fake your way through work, fake your way through safety, and fake your way through life, and you don't take ownership in what you do, you don't have that level of humility, you're going to start losing the people that you're working with. You're going to start losing them to safety incidents, safety accidents. You're going to start losing credibility, and you're going to have a hard time earning that back. It takes a lot of time to earn that back. All right? Questioning attitude. And we'll talk about this cool pull box here in a minute, but questioning attitude, all right? If you can't question what's going on, remember, I talked earlier about using tact. So questioning attitude is a good one, but you need to do it tactfully, right? So if you can't question what's going on, if you feel uncomfortable, you're setting yourself up, all right? You out there, if you can't question what's going on, you are setting yourself up. You might succeed, you might get away with it the first 20 times, 21 might come around and bite you. And if it bites you, hopefully you can learn from it, but if you don't learn from it, you're down there in the grass somewhere. That's the simple truth. You need to ask questions. You need to speak up. If you are not comfortable, speak up. I worked on a tower crew a long time ago, and the tower lead had a grunt on the ground. I think they called him a grunt or a groundman. I don't remember what he was called. But nevertheless, the guy on the ground was told he couldn't speak unless he was spoken to. All his job was to do was to rummage up tools and rummage up parts. And I was in a substation at the time. We were on a project putting in a big TSP, and there was a transmission job, and they were up there putting the tower together. And I thought that was the most ridiculous thing I ever heard in my life. So I actually pulled that guy aside and said, hey, if you've got any questions, you don't feel comfortable in here, this is a new environment for you, please bring them up. I don't want you to run around this substation doing something dangerous because you don't want to speak up because of what that guy up on top of the tower told you. So remember, have a questioning attitude and use it. Leading by example. Holy cow, right? Walk the walk, talk the talk. Can you do it? All right? You need to lead by example. Everybody needs to lead by example. If you can't lead by example, you might as well not be a leader. Go do something else. Go back to your tools. That is the plain truth about it. If you cannot lead by example, then you're setting other people up for failure. All right? You can't walk the walk. You can't tell someone to do something and expect them to do it, and then you go do something completely different. All right? People are creatures of habit. They're going to learn from what you do. They're going to follow your lead. And if you tell them to do something, then you go do it differently, and they say, hey, that looks like a great idea. I'm going to go do it that way. They're going to do it the way you did it and not follow what you told them to do, and they're going to put themselves at risk. All right? Lead by example. And we talked about stopping when you're unsure. That's the 2-minute rule. That's taking time out of your work activities to take a pause prompt, right? So I want to talk to you about this cool pull box, right? This pull box, I think, is actually up in Eureka, California. I actually had someone take a picture of this one for me, but this is not the one I was in when the story starts. Okay, I was in a job. I was an electrician or an apprentice electrician, and I was in a pull box similar to this. I asked for this particular type of picture because the pull box here that you see is a mess, total mess. Got water in it, wires in it. It's a nasty mess. All right. So when I was working in this thing, this is in a different substation. There might be some people online that can relate to this, or maybe they were there with me. But our job was to pull out a circuit from a breaker. So breaker's decommissioned. We're putting in a new breaker. We're pulling the wires out. When we went to pull the wires out, I was in the hole. We tested it. Had a ladder in there. Everything was good to go. I went to pull it out, and a gush of water came out of the hole. And the gush of water came out, and in the gush of water was a whole bunch of green stuff. And I was like, that's odd. What is this? What's the green stuff? So I thought maybe it was algae or some buildup or something, in the pipe. So I pulled up a little further, and there was rat poison all over the pipe. Or all over, not the pipe, the wires. I thought, well, that's not good. Why am I in this hole, right? There's rat poison coming out of a duct full of wire. I thought, well, I'll put some gloves on. I put some gloves on. I went to pull a little bit more, and there's rat poison, and all kinds of insulation and a dead rat and all kinds of other stuff in there. And I thought, whoa, I'm going to stop. Here I'm going to stop, right? Questioning attitude, right? I am stopping when I am unsure. And I remember back to my training, all my safety training, my environmental training, about rat feces and the dangers that rats bring and the disease. And I'm thinking, here I am, I'm 4 hours from home, I'm working on a job in a hole full of rat piss, poop, rat poison, and yuck. What am I going to do now, right? Am I going to keep going and pull out 40 feet of cable that could be compromised? No, I didn't. I stopped, and I asked my foreman. And this is where things got a little sticky. And this is where I think a lot of people start to cave, if you will, right? I asked my foreman, I said, well, hey, I got rat feces, I got poisoned dead rats, I have a mess in here, it's an environmental nightmare. What am I supposed to do? What's the next step? And he looked at me dead in the face and said, hey, you know, this is part of the job. He says, we need to pull the wire out so we can pull a new wire in. I thought, I thought to myself, this is part of the job. This is not part of my job. This is not what I signed up for. You know, what are the chances if I keep going with this thing and I get this all over my boots and my clothes and I go home, throw this in the laundry, kids get sick, family gets sick because of something I brought home, because it was my job to pull this out of a conduit? No. So I stopped and I told him again, I said, hey, I'm not doing it. He says, well, what we can do is we can go to the store and get a bunch of bleach and we can pour it down the conduit in the breaker and have it flow down through the wires and that'll kill everything. I said, well, you can do it. I'm not doing it. I said, there's no way. I said, if you guys want to do that, have a nice day. I'm not doing it. So I got it out of the hole, and that's what they proceeded to do. They got in their truck, and they went to go to the store, and they went to go get bleach. And I thought, you know what? You know, I'm not going to do it. I don't want my crew to do it, no matter what the credibility of the foreman's going down right now, right? Because he's not backing me up. So I started making phone calls. My superintendent wasn't available at the time, so I got a hold of another superintendent I knew, told him the story, told him what was going on in the situation. He told me to shut the job down. So I went over and I attempted to shut the job down. I said, hey, I talked to so-and-so, I'm not going to say names. He told me to shut the job down. I shut it down. And the sub-foreman laughed. He goes, that guy doesn't even work in our area. You're not shutting it down. He says, we're going to get the bleach. We're going to pour it down the pipe. I said, you can get the bleach all you want, but I'm not going to let the truck come in the gate because the superintendent told me to shut the job down. Job shut down. So from that point on, the superintendent and myself that I spoke to ran that job for cleaning this up. We got a hold of Insulation and Coatings, our paint department. They came out in Tyvek suits, put up a tent, pulled the wire out, cleaned up the whole thing, vacuumed up, bleached it. You could eat off the floor of that pull box when they were done with it. But that was the right thing to do. I pushed and pushed and pushed until I got the answer I needed, Not the right answer that someone else was giving me because they felt it was the right answer. I got the answer that I needed at the end of the day. And that's how we need to proceed in life. That's how we need to proceed on the job. The exact same way. You need to have the exact same attitude I had when I was in that box. And I think about that often. I think about the what ifs. What if I would have caved and said, okay, we'll put bleach in it. And we put bleach in it, and I got a mixture of chemical after chemical after chemical with the poison and the bleach and the feces and whatever else was in that hole on me, and I brought that home, or I brought that to the hotel, or I brought it back to my kids. You know, what kind of impact did that have on your family? Think about that. That's huge. That is huge. So go until you are happy, not till someone else is satisfied and tries to convince you otherwise. All right? Please make sure you need to bring that into your life. And that's you, the people that are watching this thing. You are leaders. Everybody on this thing is a leader in some sort of way or another. Whether you're a safety leader or otherwise, you're a leader. Reflect on situations like this before you put people in the field and do the work. All right? Let's move along. Personal accountability and humility. So on the bottom here, the bottom right-hand side of the slide, I got a little phrase from Rick Warren. Rick Warren. So from Rick Warren here, humility is not denying your strength. Humility is being honest about your weaknesses. Think about that. It's not denying your strengths. It's being honest about your weaknesses. That's pretty powerful, all right? That's what humility is, all right? realizing what your weaknesses are and being able to live through them, work through them, share them with other people, lead by example. All right? That's what humility is. And everybody has it. It's just whether or not you can use it. It's whether or not you can present it. It's whether or not you can share that humility with someone, take responsibility for your actions, and pause correct, if you will, and come out winning the crowd and earning respect in the end. Some people can't do that, all right? But think about that the next time you do something or question something and maybe your question was wrong. Think about humility, the level of humility, and what you can do to make it better in the future, all right? Just really, really, really let that set in. Humility. What is humility? All right. Choices. Everybody makes choices. I like this slide. This slide is actually a good slide. So everybody makes choices. All right? What you permit, you promote. Everybody knows that one. That's nothing new. And what you promote, you promote. That's nothing new either, right? So what you permit, you promote. If you're letting someone do something unsafe, if you're letting someone execute an unsafe act, you are promoting that. You are teaching someone how to do that. You are teaching the new incoming employees how to act unsafely because you're allowing it to happen in the field. Take accountability. Personal accountability is huge. If you can't take accountability and you're in a leadership role, it's time to go get some training, be retrained, or maybe even think about not being a leader. Not everybody's a leader. Everybody's need to realize that. Not everybody has that ability to lead, and it's okay. It's not a bad thing. It's an okay thing. But you need to be able to take accountability for your actions if you're going to be a leader. You need to be able to take accountability for your actions if you're going to be a parent, all right, or have a soccer team or a football team. You have to be able to take accountability for your actions. If you don't, they're going to follow the wrong guidelines. Everybody that's following in your footsteps, all those ducks are going to follow in your footsteps in the wrong guidelines, and they're going to do everything that you do wrong. Okay? Lead and teach by example. Please make sure. Lead and teach, and the reason I say teach is because if you do after work or after school sports and you're a coach, you're teaching. All right? You're leading, but you're also teaching. You're teaching youngins how to become better in their future. You're stepping in and taking the role of a parent for a certain amount of time. You are leading and you are teaching. All right, I put some negative examples up here for you. So here we got a guy crossing the street on a cell phone. Where do we see that happen? No, we've never seen that happen before, huh? I see it happen all the time. All right, or crossing in between cars, not even in a crosswalk, expecting people to stop for them. All right. How about the people that decide, oh, well, I'm gonna blow through this light, right? And take the chance to T-bone to someone, right? So think about that. Think about the impact that has if you run a light or you run a stop sign, you take a chance, all right? That's huge, all right? And if you do that and you've got your teenage kid sitting next to you, guess what your teenage kid's going to probably do in a couple of years when he gets his license or her license? You're going to blow through that light too, right? Then one on the left-hand side, this one I took a picture of a while back and I wanted to share this. So one on the left-hand side, if you're looking at that correctly, take a chance and look at that thing, right? So those are safety chains. Those are safety chains that are properly crossed, right, on the back of a truck, all right? Won't label the truck here. But the safety chains are hooked up. They're hooked up properly. They got snap hooks. That's correct. They're actually about the picture that you're seeing. The chains are actually about 4 inches off the ground, so they're clearing the ground pretty good. But what's that little hook in the zip tie? Anybody online want to tell me what that is? Any takers?
For the brake.
Yeah, for the brake. Right on. Very cool. Thank you very much, whoever answered that question for me. So that is for the brake. That is the emergency brake, the breakaway brake for that trailer. So in this picture, I didn't take a picture of the whole thing because it'd been a big picture. But in this picture, that trailer is a I think it's rated at 20,000 pounds. It's got an excavator on it, and it's hooked up. Trailer's hooked up properly except for that. That is your breakaway emergency brake, hooked up to a zip tie, hooked up to the hook that's supposed to secure the trailer when it breaks loose. These are choices. If you are a Class 1, Class A commercial driver, it is your responsibility, 100% your responsibility, to assure that your load is hooked up correctly. All right? Own your safety. It is your job to walk around that piece of equipment and make sure it's hooked up properly. 100%. A zip tie and a little dog chain hook hooked up to the wrong point on the vehicle to activate the brakes in case that thing breaks away. You really think that's going to work? That's not going to work. All right? Could it physically work if that zip tie was brand new? Sure, but it's still in the wrong location. Zip ties, what do they do in the sun? They start to break down. A couple days in the sun, that thing's worthless. So think about that. I have another picture I didn't put on here, but I fixed the situation. I wrapped it around so I hooked up to the cable. But nevertheless, this is a choice someone made. They hooked it up this way, and they're going to tow that piece of equipment down the road. If it were to break loose, that zip tie broke, and one of those chains or two of those chains failed, you've got a rolling excavator on a trailer down the highway, wreaking havoc and tearing the highway up, hitting cars, causing all kinds of accidents. You can say it never will happen? It's happened. We've lost equipment on the freeways before. I've seen news across the United States where people are losing excavators, hitting underpasses, hitting all kinds of stuff, trailers losing tires, safety chains under extreme load breaking, and the trailer leaving the tow vehicle. It happens. It's real. And that is not going to help it. All right? Make the right choices. Do that walk around. We'll talk about that a little bit later on, but do that walk around. Do a proper walk around. All right? Make sure that your entire vehicle is secured before you drive down the road. It is your responsibility, not mine, not your supervisor's, not your leader. It is your responsibility as an operator to make sure that you travel down the road safely. All right? Even if you have a buddy on the ground, if you got a groundman or your passenger hooks up your trailer, guess what? It is your responsibility, not his, to make sure that thing is secure. All right? Why does it become okay to take chances? So everybody heard this term before, deviation of normalcy or normalization of deviance. All right? When you take chances and those chances become normal practice. All right? So instead of having a safe practice, the chances that you take, the risks that you take become normal. That becomes part of what you do, and you don't realize it anymore. All you're doing is taking chances. You're setting yourself up for failure, and you think it's normal. All right? So why does it become okay to take those chances? Because you allow it to. You allow it to. You found a shortcut, and you took a chance, and you were successful. That shortcut became normal operation, and from now on, you're going to do it that way. That shortcut may lead to a catastrophic failure. It may lead to someone else following in your footsteps and modifying that shortcut and doing something wrong the next time that's even greater than what you did as an example. That's when it becomes normal. That's what normalization deviation of normalcy is. That's what the definition is. All right? That's why it becomes normal for you. We can't allow that to happen. There are certain reasons why we have rules and procedures, and we need to follow them. We can't just go taking shortcuts because it's easier. It's safe. You think it's safe at the time. The task you're doing is going to be okay. We can't be going and doing that. Perception is not reality. Here's the one for you. Here's a kicker, right? So everybody think about this thing. Perception is always reality. Perception is reality. Perception is how we perceive something, and how we perceive something becomes reality. All right? Perception is not reality. Look at the bottom bullet point on this slide, all right, if you will. All right? So perception is not reality. Perception is the excuse one uses when they lack the courage and or care to research the truth. That couldn't be further from the truth. That is perception. When you lack the courage or the care to research the truth, you're perceiving. All right? Perception might make you feel good about doing something, might make you feel, enlightened. It might make you feel like you're successful. You did something, you took a shortcut. Hey, that was awesome. I perceived that I could do it that way, and it was successful, and I got away with it. 20 times later, you end up with an injury, or you end up killing someone. All right? Perception is not reality. Please remember that. All right? Perception is that guy right down there in the bottom. It's the excuse. Perception is an excuse that someone uses when they don't have the courage or care to go find out the truth. All right? That's a big one. All right? Think about that. Think about that the next time you look at something and think, I bet you I'm right thinking it's supposed to be that way. Or, the grounds, from this angle, the grounds look like they're secure. No, don't worry about it. They look like they're all right instead of hanging at a 30-degree angle like they should. They look good. It could be loose. If they're loose, they're not protecting you, right? So perception is not reality. Let that sink in. High energy kills the human factor. All right, so it's proven that high energy is the cause for the majority of our fatalities. It is. But so the problem is, and if you look down at the third bullet item, companies spend a lot of time looking for catchback plans. How to fix it, all right? How to fix the problem. How to put something in place, a rule or a procedure so it doesn't happen next time. But if high energy is killing people, high energy just doesn't jump out and kill you. All right? There's something in the human factor that allows us as human beings to push a trigger and allow that high energy to come out, to reach up and get too close to energized cable, right? To not ground properly and allow induction to come and bite us. All right? There's a trigger there. That's a human factor. All right? That is a human element that energy kills us. All right? We don't spend enough time looking at human performance tools, human performance actions in the field, at home, or anywhere else to actually identify where the employee might have done something wrong. All right? I'm not talking about putting blame on people and disciplining people, but think about it. Water doesn't shoot out of a penstock at extreme pressures and volumes all by itself. Short of a catastrophic failure, which happens, we can have a catastrophic failure, but short of a catastrophic failure, high energy kills people because they allow it to kill them. High energy injures people because they allow it. Whether it's complacency, whether it's taking a shortcut, whether it's breaking a rule, not following a procedure. All right, high energy is hurting you and killing you because you are allowing high energy to hurt you and kill you. In the bite, what's that, right? We're working in the bite. If you're working in the bite, you're working on a rigging, the crane, or you're working pulling wire, all right, and you put yourself in the bite. You made that choice to put yourself in the bite. We might have a failure of a sling or a cable, but you put yourself in that bite. All right, you made that choice, and that choice got you injured or worse. All right, please think about that. We really need to own. We need to own our safety as employees in the field. We need to really understand that it is our opportunity, our responsibility to keep ourselves safe, keep our loved ones safe, and our brothers and sisters safe. All right, it's huge. It's a big deal. All right, but the trigger is pulled by you. The trigger is not pulled by leadership. The trigger is not pulled by procedures. The trigger is not pulled by standards. It's not pulled by rules and safety guidance. The trigger is pulled by the employee. Short of a catastrophic failure, the reason why we get hurt is because we take a chance or make a choice that puts us in a compromising situation. All right? Think about that too. It might be kind of hard. We're talking about stuff that may be uncomfortable to you, but this is the truth. This is how things happen in the field and then happen in life. All right? So think about it. Let it set in a little bit. If you don't want to ask today, ask me later on if you have any questions about it. But we need to own our safety. And energy kills us because we let it kill us. So here we go, right? So here's a choice. So I put the slide together. So follow me along here a little bit. But high energy kills and the human factor, we've continued on. So you have a choice, you take an action, you have a consequence, and maybe complacency played a role. And how did it damage your culture, right? So here you are. You're in a substation situation. You're putting in a new set of rigs, all right? But you're not changing out the disconnects, all right? You put in the rigs, and you tighten up all the bolts, and you tighten the bolts on the bottom, the fittings on the bottom of the disconnects. You tighten them up with covers on top so that you're working safely. You tighten up all the fittings on the bushings going in the regulators, and when you start working on the regulators, you take down those protective covers because you don't need them anymore. All right? One of those phases you forget. Oh, I forgot to torque down the fitting on the bottom of the switch. All right? When you were working on it with cover on it, and you're working on it with a hand ratchet's pretty small. But with a torque wrench, it's going to be, 2-3 times the length. And you go up there and you take a chance. And you think, well, you know what? When I was working on this and I had the covers on, I had the safe 27 inches safe working distance between me and the hot anyways. I'm going to go ahead and go up there and torque these up. And you take that choice. All right? Your action is you go up there with a torque wrench in your man lift or on your ladder, and you start tightening up those bolts, torquing them up on the bottom of that switch, because your perception was, perception, not reality, perception was that you had safe working distance when you worked on it with the covers on. Now you're going up with a torque wrench. You go up and tighten up, you encroach on your 27 inches greatly enough, you have an arc flash between the top side of that switch, which is energized, and your torque wrench. You burn yourself up to the point where you can't use your hand anymore. You've got burns all over your face and your body. Your FR gear helped you out, but didn't help you out 100%, right? And complacency changed your life. How did you damage your culture? People see this. People on the ground saw it. They're going to be afraid. They're going to have PTSD. They're going to have all kinds of issues coming up from it. You're going to have PTSD. You're going to probably blame someone else, right? That's what usually happens. We start pointing and blaming. But you took a chance. You encroached on it, and you have to pay for it now. All right? Think about that. Think about the action in that short scenario. If you encroach on energized equipment with a wrench and it does jump on you, right? You get close enough to that thing, you pulled the trigger. You're the one that did it. All right? No one else told you to do it. You did it. You thought you were safe. You encroached on that energized 12 kV, 13.4 or whatever it was. You energized on it. It arced over to you. You had an arc flash. You burnt your hands up. Think about all the things that a burnt hand are going to impact for the rest of your life. What's it going to do for you? All right? What restrictions are you going to have moving forward? Can you ride a bicycle with your kids? I don't know. Hands all tore up. Can you hammer in and fix honeydews around the house? Don't know. Your hands all burn up. We don't know, right? Why are we taking chances like this? This is a mock scenario I'm talking about, but this stuff happens in the field. All across this country, this stuff happens. This is not far from what actually happens. This is not far from the truth. All right? And think about it. Think about what it does when it ruins that culture that you're trying to build in the field. When it ruins that trust and camaraderie between you and your employees. This is you. All right? You, me, people in the field making choices. All right, procedures. So this is another good one I struggle with from time to time. So why do we have procedures? Why do we have safety manuals? Why do we have standards? And why do we have guidance documents? Why? Because someone came up with a better idea, whether it was engineered or it was built on blood, right, to do a certain task. The problem is, how many of us still actually know what they are and follow them? Are we staying up on procedures? Are we staying up on GO 95 rules? Are we following the regulations that we're supposed to follow in the field? And if you are you sharing them with the people that are working with you? All right? Remember, everybody on this call, everybody on this webinar is a leader of some sort. You're all here because you're a leader. Whether you're a safety leader or you're a field leader, you're all here because you're a leader. Even if you're a parent, you're here because you're a leader. all right? If you're on this call, we need to make sure that we understand the procedures, the guidance, whether it's at home or at work. We have guidance documents at home. And hey, I'm one of those parents that didn't read a whole lot of them. All right? I learned by a lot of my failures and how to become a better parent. We're human. We make mistakes. But if we have them, why not use them? Why not share them? Why not teach the people that are working with us how to use them, how to share them? We're all going to benefit from it. All right? If you're in the utility industry, I'm in the utility industry. We've got procedures for everything that we do. We've got procedures I've never even read before. We've got procedures for tightening and torquing bolts, on how to use what length bolt. We've got how to set switches, how to set poles, how to string wire. There's procedures for everything. All right? So it shouldn't be looking at the job package, thinking about how to do it. Oh yeah, we used the same tools last week. We'll get those tools. Understand the procedures and the steps you need to take to get the work done. All right? Follow them. You have to follow them. Shortcuts will kill us. All right? Taking shortcuts will kill us. Everybody remember the pyramid, right? Or the Swiss cheese pyramid. You get all the whole, at the bottom of the pyramid, you get all the low-lying injuries and all the near hits and stuff. And then as you climb the pyramid, someone at the pyramid, the top of the pyramid is the one that dies. When the Swiss cheese all lines up, all the holes line up, when they all line up at once, you have an opportunity for a catastrophic failure or a fatality. All right? Think about that when we're not following procedures, when we're not reflecting on the guidance that we have, not reading the safety manual, and assuming that, hey, because that guy over there's got super cool safety glasses on made by Oakley and he can dish out a couple $100 and buy them, that it's okay now to wear Oakleys. That's not how it works. We have procedures, we have guidance written for a reason. All right? So if they may look cool, they may look cool on him, may look cool on you, but if you're not following the guidance and procedures that we put in place, whether safety or build procedures, then you are breaking rules and taking chances. You. All right? Make sure we're paying attention to this. Just because one person does something a certain way doesn't mean it's the right way. All right. And how does your decision affect others? We've talked about this quite a bit today. All right. So how does your decision affect others? All right. Do you take shortcuts? What is a shortcut? A shortcut is how to get to a common end or conclusion a quicker way. It might be more efficient. All right. But it can also set you up for complete failure. All right? Taking shortcuts is taking chances. Taking chances is taking risk. And yes, we wouldn't have all this cool camera equipment, this PowerPoint, tents, this opportunity if someone didn't take a risk at some point in their life. Risk comes with a reward, but risk also comes with serious consequences. All right? So think about that. All right? Do you talk the talk? Do you walk the walk? I do everything the best I can to talk the talk and walk the walk. I'm not perfect. I make mistakes just like everybody else does. But talking the talk and walking the walk are probably two of the most important things you can do out in the field and in life to gain the respect and camaraderie you need from your fellow coworkers and your family. All right? If you're going to say you're going to do it a certain way, do it that way. All right? If you say you're going to go in a certain direction, go in that direction. Lead by example. Walk the walk and talk the talk. Cool. Let's keep going. Leading by example. So I like this little comic I put in here. That was cool. I found that. I thought that was super neat. But why science teachers should not be given playground duty, right? Yeah. Imagine swinging like that with the kids. Yeah, that's not happening. But many people in the utility industry learn from example. Hence the need for accurate and timely field and on-the-job training. Field and on-the-job training, what does that do for us? What are you doing by providing field and OJT, if you want to call it that? All right? You are teaching someone how to do something the way you do it. That's what on-the-job training is. We do a lot of training to pass a test. Don't get me wrong, that's what it is. They train you to pass a test. I ran cranes for 6 years. Every time I took my crane test, I was taking the test to pass the test. They didn't teach me how to set dead end poles or set breakers or string wire. They didn't teach me anything like that. They taught you how to pass the test. That's the blatant truth about it. All right? So that's why OJT is so important. You're teaching the employees in the field how you do something, and hopefully you're teaching it the way that you learned it based on procedures and standards and guidance from someone else that knew what they were doing. And this is where the rabbit hole starts, right? This is where that churn starts. This is where we start running into problems. Is if you're not teaching the employees in the field the right way to do it, they're going to learn your way to do it, and your way to do it might be the exact opposite of the right way to do it. You might be setting them up for failure. Right? OJT is huge. The influence that you have on the people in the field is huge. It is immense. That's why it is so important for you to do it accurately, based on the standards, based on the procedures, based on the guidance, even all the OSHA stuff, based on all the information out there. That is why it's so important for you to train the employees in the field the correct way. All right? Not the way it was done 20 years ago or 30 years ago by someone that's retired and had success with it then. It's how it's supposed to be done. You need to be training and leading by example. All right. So we talked about being a good leader too, and what defines a good leader. Good leaders not only lead, but they teach, right? A good leader leads, a good leader teaches, a good leader has humility, can earn respect, not demand respect, can speak with tact, right? And will guide you on a path to success. That's what good leaders do. Not everybody in a leadership role is a good leader. Not everybody in a leadership role needs to be a leader. All right? If you feel uncomfortable or it's not your gig, move out, go do something different. All right? Humility, that's where it comes in. All right? If you have humility and you realize that you're not good at your job, maybe it's time to find another job. You do not want to pass your bad habits on to someone else and take a risk of ruining their career or their life. All right? Step out of the shadows, let someone know that this isn't for you, and go do something different. Don't keep pushing along and taking chances. Not only are you going to ruin your career, but you're going to ruin someone else's future. All right. Why do you work safe, and what do you expect from others? Here you go. So here's a couple of cool pictures I put together. Here we got a couple of guys blanketing up, a line. They're going to work it hot. They're blanketing up their secondary points of contact. Awesome. Good job, right? That's working safe. And that's what they expect from their team. They did this job 100%. I was on this job when they did it. It was great. Everything they did was to the T how it should be done. Good communication, good setup, good execution. They're doing it the right way. All right? So why do you work safe? What is it that you do to work? Why do you work safe? What do you want to accomplish at the end of the day? All right? What do you want to go home to? Do you want to go home in one piece, half a piece? Do you want to go home and tell your loved ones that you just filled out a workers' comp claim because you didn't follow the rules and do it the right way, and you did something wrong, and now you get a big laceration in your arm and you're going to miss some work? No, that's not what you want to do. We want to work safe so that we can go home and enjoy our time with our family and our loved ones, and do the afternoon and after work activities, soccer, sports, go watch them play, maybe throw a line in the river. Whatever you do on the outside, you want to be able to do that successfully, and that's why we need to work safe. All right? Yeah, that's my little guy. That's Jackson. All right? So he wanted to work on his little electric car. I'm not entirely sure what he's doing. Supercharger, I don't know. But either way, jack stands. He's using jack stands so he can work safe. All right? The jack is out there for the fun of it, because all we had to do is lift it up and put on the jack stands. But nevertheless, he's working safe, right? Doing whatever he's doing, working safe. And that's what I teach my family and my kids at home, is to work safe. And this guy calls me out all the time when I'm doing something that's questionable. Awesome culture I'm building at home. All right? What do you expect from your team? Do you expect your team to work the same method you're working in? What do you expect from others? Tell them what you expect from them. Share it. This is communication. It is a communication opportunity for you to tell the people in the field what your expectations are. All right, that is human performance to its T. You telling people what you need from them and them understanding it. All right? All right? And you know what? In the end of the day, ultimately, all these cool catchphrases, these all lead up to you going home and seeing your kids and your loved ones and being able to do so. All right? That's what all this presentation is about, is you, your actions. All right. Risk in the human element. So why do people take risks? We talked about that a little bit. So why do people take a risk? Ages ago, someone built a cool round donut-looking thing with a hole in it and put a stick in it and made a cart instead of dragging stuff along the ground, right? The wheel, right? So they took chances. They took chances, safety chances. They didn't have safety glasses. I can't tell you. I can imagine how many thumbs were busted open trying to make that wheel. It happened, right? But they took risks and take chances, and that's how we got to where we are now. But look at the technology we have now. There's no reason why we need to be taking risks. There's no reason why we need to be putting ourselves in a bite. My son's not actually in the bite, and yes, that is a crane holding up a piñata. You'll never see that again in your life, but that's for his 6th birthday. Pretty awesome, right? So, but he's not actually putting himself in the bite. He's actually off in the distance. But if you look at the scenario and the situation, and if you didn't know better, he's in the bite. Right? He's in the bite of that load. Load doesn't weigh much. But if you're picking up a transformer or a breaker and you're down there underneath that crane boom, you're in the bite. You're in that triangle of death. If something goes wrong and that thing swings towards you, that crane fails, or the outriggers fail, you're done. Right? So why do we take risks? Why do we take risks that we don't need to take? How about manageable risk? All right? That's another one, right? I remember hearing that when I was a young apprentice at PG&E is we can manage some risk, and we can. How do you manage risk? If you put in tools and barriers to protect yourself from risks and hazards, that's how you manage risk. It is possible to manage risk, but you need to realize what tools, what barriers, what systems you need to put in place in order to do so that we can fail safely. All right? If you fail, and you fail safely without incident, you won. All right? Because guess what? We're human. We're fallible. It's going to happen. It's when you don't fail safely. It's when you don't use those systems. It's when you don't take precautions. It's when you don't put up barriers and you fail and you don't fail successfully that you start running into problems and getting injured and or killed on the job or at home. All right? Bring this home. Bring this home to your family. Show them all this stuff. There's a lot of meaning behind this. If you can't fail safely, then there's no reason why you should be doing the job in the first place. All right. Last two down here on the slide. All right. Number one there. Would you ask a loved one for permission before you do something unsafe? Think about that. You're at work. You got an idea. Comes to your head and you think, hey, I can get that done a lot faster, but you know what? It's probably not the safest thing in the world. I'm taking a chance. If it goes south, there's a good chance I'm going to get hurt doing that task. I'm gonna get my phone out real quick. I'm going to call my wife on my phone. I'm going to say, hey, I got an idea. I got a better way to do that job than the other guys do. It's not going to be safe. I could get hurt. What do you think? What do you think your wife's going to say? Oh, go for it, honey. You're awesome. Do it. No problem. Yeah, that sounds good. Make sure you teach your crew how to do it that way too. Oh, no, that's not going to happen. Your wife's going to read your riot act, right? And you're not going to do it. So if you have that questioning attitude in the back of your head and you're thinking, oh, man, I can do it better, I can do it faster, but I'm taking a risk. Should I do it? Think about calling your wife. Your loved one, your significant other, whatever. Think about calling that person up at home and saying, hey, you know what? What do you think about me doing it this way? And I guarantee the common sense at home is going to trump your actions in the field, and you are not going to do it the way you perceived that you were going to do it. Perception again. Perception, right? Perception. All right? Guarantee it. Think about that next time you're going to do something stupid. Yeah, I'll use the word stupid. Think about that next time you're going to do something stupid. call your wife or your loved one or your significant other and ask them for permission. And how about the bottom one? If you knew there was a risky, your loved one was going to do something risky, and you knew there was a safer way of doing it, would you actually take that risk and let them do it and give them permission to do something unsafe? Think about that. Are you going to give a loved one permission to do something unsafe when you know there's a better way of doing it? No. Chances are you're not, so why are you doing the same thing in the field? Why do you allow yourself and your coworkers, your team, to do something unsafely? So here's a scenario, right? Risk in the human element. So risk, reward, and consequence. So driving your phone with your phone to your ear, texting. California, it's illegal. I don't know what it is out here or anywhere else in the United States, but California, you can't do that. But if you're doing that, reward, you're multitasking, you're getting something done in a shorter period of time. Awesome. You're able to do something while you're driving, get ahead of schedule. You know, if you're lucky, everything goes well, you arrive at work or wherever your destination is, and you've done something while you're driving a vehicle. All right? Consequence. Holy cow, look at the consequences. If something goes wrong, I can't tell you how many times I pull up alongside someone, they're on their phone, and now, you know, within seconds, they're almost in my lane. Or they're in someone else's lane. Or, you know the person on the freeway that's talking on their phone. You know them very, very well because they're doing 50 in the 65 mile an hour zone because they're not paying attention to you, the cars around them, or anything else going on. All they're paying attention to is the conversation they're having on the phone or who they're texting. They're the slow one on the freeway these days. It's not the old adage, which I won't share. It's people texting and talking on their phones. All right? If they're talking on their phone on the freeway, dangerous. If you're doing that, guess what you're doing? You're putting yourself in the exact same serious potential consequence situation. Collisions. All right? Slowing traffic. Putting you and yourself and your family at risk. All right? That's what you're doing. You're taking a chance. All right? That is risk, reward, and its consequences finest. And you see it all the time, every day, on every freeway or thoroughfare you're on. You're going to see it all the time. Why do we do that? All right. I had to throw this thing in here for the slide. This one's for my PG&E brother and sisters out there. This was taken years ago when I was a safety lead, and we were promoting the 4-cone policy, which was a effort in order to get people to do a full circle of safety around their vehicle in order to make sure that they didn't have any obstructions, no kids hiding underneath, no leaking fluids, and that their path of travel was clear before they left. So the 4-cone policy came in, and this was after one of my safety presentations on the 4-cone policy. This is what it came out to. That was my truck. So they decided to use a 4-cone policy. But think about this. So I'm going to put a little bit of a twist on this guy, right? So when you're driving, right, you want to make sure that you can pull through if you can, so you don't have to back out of a parking spot. Backing out of a parking spot because your attention is not there when you're leaving is a dangerous job, right? But look at this thing, right? So I had my cohorts in crime, if you will, at PG&E in San Francisco at the time. They littered my truck with cones. But let's put a little bit of a twist on it, right? So here I got a bunch of cones on my truck. If I've got 4 cones around my vehicle and I do my walk around and I just do a walk around, all I do is identify any hazards around my vehicle, what can I do with the other 19 cones that are on my truck, right? What can I do with those 4 cones that are on the ground? I can pick up a couple of cones and I can put them on obstructions that are lower than my line of sight from my mirrors that are in my blind spot, so that when I back up and pull through, I can see them because I now have a cone identifying my hazard. Think about that next time you go and drive somewhere. You got a mailbox, a stump, you got an AT&T or some sort of telecom box on the ground, sticking up out of the ground that's in your blind spot and you can't see it, but you know it's there because you did your proper 360 walk around, and you hop in your truck and you say, hey, I can't see that. I don't know exactly where that is now. take one of these awesome cones that your brethren decided to give you and stick it on top of that box. Because guess what? Now, 28-inch orange cone, you're going to be able to probably see that and see where it is, right? Then back up, back out of the situation you're in. Take that cone, throw it back in your truck, and drive off successfully, and don't take the chance of hitting something. That's what we're really, really good at. We're really, really good at finding stationary objects. And we find them with that cool chrome bumper on the back of the truck or the side of the truck. We're really, really good at it. I mean, that's one of the things that we do really, really well. It's not the right thing, but we do it really well. It's finding stationary objects with our vehicles. So let's think about that next time. Use some identification tools and tactics when you're pulling out of a parking spot. Use what you have at your disposal to make your drive safely and successful. All right, we can do it. And make sure they can see you. Please make sure you can see you. If they can't see the big white truck with a sticker, yeah, I know we got problems. But make sure that they can see you. Make sure that you make yourself visible. Don't go hiding in people's blind spots when you're on the road. You can hide entire trucks, motorcycles, cars in some of the blind spots these vehicles have. Make sure you put yourself in a position for success when you're driving. All right, here we go. Here's how you become an awesome safety leader. Winning the crowd. I'm going to read these off to you. So you're all safety professionals, leaders in one form or another. If you can win the crowd, all right, knowing your audience, win your crowd, you'll have success in curbing a safety culture and making a positive change for the better. 100% correct. All right? Make your conversations personal. Here we go. All right? We all have commonalities. Every single one of us has commonalities. Some of us like to hunt. Some of us like to fish. Some of us like motocross, biking, hiking, you name it, right? Some of us are into hot rods and classic cars and muscle cars. We all have some sort of commonality. Some of us ride, motorcycles on the street, Harleys and stuff. We all have some sort of commonality. Make it personal. Share your hobbies with your crews. As a leader, share them so you can actually build up a camaraderie and some commonalities between you and your crews. As a safety professional, do the same thing. If you see a crew infrequently, but when you roll up on a crew and you know that so-and-so is a hunter and you have something in common, or so-and-so likes bass fishing and he's got a cool boat and you remember that and you can have that conversation about it, it makes it personal. You start winning people over by sharing personal experiences. Win the crowd, all right? Win it. Share family experiences. All right, you might have kids that do stuff that their kids do. Pop Warner football. You might have little kids on cute little tiny dirt bikes tearing up jumps and they're only 6 years old. If you do and they do, hey, you've got a commonality there. You may actually be able to spur a moment where your kids and their kids get together outside of work and you build up that camaraderie between you and your relationships with the people in the field just by getting them linked up. A simple play date can win the crowd. All right? Lead by example and remain consistent. Please. This is huge. We have an ever-changing workforce. We have an ever-changing, the utilities are ever-changing. The cultures are ever-changing. The messages are ever-changing. Yeah, you know what? And don't take this the wrong way, but yeah, every 3 to 5 years, guess what? The communication from leadership down changes. And that's not a bad thing. That could be a really good thing. That could be a really good change, right? But remain consistent when it comes to the safety for you and your fellow employees and your loved ones. You have to remain consistent. Every time you change up when it comes to safety and doing things safely, when you change it up, that's when you're taking chances and that's when you start losing the crowd. Remain consistent. Revitalize conversations around change. All right? If you got change going on, everybody has change. Even my company has change going on right now. We all have some sort of change. Have a good conversation about it. All right? There is always good in change. It's not all bad. There's always some sort of good in change. And bring it up. Have a conversation about it. Pull the crews together. Stop a crew, if they're working. Pull them down if you have time, if you know it's not going to impact the job. And talk about it. Talk about that change. Ask questions. All right, there are people out there that have some really, really good ideas, some that are a lot better than yours, a lot better than mine. Ask them, all right? They may be able to help you implement the change you're promoting. They may be able to give you a conduit on how to communicate with certain people in the field that otherwise see it as a negative, and how to turn it into a positive and make that change work. Revitalize it. We need to revitalize those conversations, all right? And share accomplishments, challenges, and opportunities. The one thing we are really good at by nature as human beings is reflecting on the negative, the bad. We always do that. We always remember the bad things, but we don't celebrate the accomplishments, all right? We need to do a better job of that. My biggest, the analogy I like to use is back well before my time when I hear the stories with PG&E. And, you know, this may be out the window, who knows, it may come back someday, but they had family picnics. They would share their accomplishments. They had family get-togethers. They had these huge opportunities to get crews together, network, build up that camaraderie, and they would share their accomplishments. But they'd also share the challenges and opportunities. They won the crowd. They really did. They won the crowd by keeping it consistent, revitalizing conversations, and bringing it home and making it personal. A lot of that's gone, but there's no reason why you can't do it on a 1:5 or a 1:3 or a 1:9 ratio in the field, taking that opportunity, sharing, showing compassion, building relationships, revitalizing those conversations, and remaining consistent. Win the crowd. All right. And uphold your integrity, all right? Don't be afraid to show humility. We talked about humility a lot today. Do not be afraid. I've actually been on some jobs, personally myself, as a safety leader, and seen something that said, I don't think that's the way you should be doing it. And then the crew will tell me, yeah, that's the way we do it. I said, I don't think so, because in my mind, I'm reading a procedure about how to do that job, and I'm thinking they're wrong. And so we'll have a conversation about it, and I'll come back later on after I review the procedure again if I'm wrong, and I'll share the fact that, you know what, I was wrong. There's a humility piece there, all right? I'll apologize. I'll take accountability and responsibility for it. That's humility. Here we go. So for today, we've talked about a whole lot about safety. Ultimately, you need to own your safety. It's yours. All right, your safety. This is all about you. All right. So don't go thinking that this is not. Don't think we're talking about leadership and executives and all that today. This is about you and I. This is about you and I, you and your family. All right. You need to own your safety. All right. Only you can have a positive effect on other people. You can also have a negative effect on other people. All right. But why? Why would we want to do that? Why would we not want to win the crowd? Why wouldn't we not want to build a successful culture? It's up to you and I. All right? Be your brothers and sisters and family's keeper. I put family in there too. Be your family's keeper. Make sure that what you promote is positive. Remember that. What you permit, you promote, and what you promote, you promote. All right? Make sure that whatever you're permitting is a positive. It's not a negative. All right? Don't allow that rabbit hole to form. Don't allow that safety culture to go downhill. All right? Huge passion of mine is between you and me in the field. Like I said earlier, I'm not a stats guy. I don't have graphs and bars and all that stuff to weigh in on safety. It's all important at its own level, but ultimately you are the one that's going to keep yourself safe. All right. All right, so here, I wanted to almost end this with my story. I didn't want to start this with my story, but I have a huge passion about safety, and it more or less started very, very soon after I started with PG&E. So I'm going to set the background a little bit here for you. 2004, September 14th, 2004, I hired on with PG&E. I hire on as a utility worker with substation construction. December of that year, 3 months later, I get my apprenticeship, which is a little bit odd, but I had a lot of background coming into PG&E, a lot of useful tools in microprocessors, programming, hydraulics, refrigeration, you name it, system control, stuff like that before I came to PG&E. So I had a background. So 3 months after I get hired on, I start my apprenticeship. Right around the time I start my apprenticeship, I'm working 19 to 2, as they call them. So 19 days on, 2 days off. All right. It was nice because basically getting a job at PG&E is like winning the lottery, right? So I won the lottery. I got the best job I can get. I'm in PG&E, working for substation construction. Yes, I'm going to have to put a stab out there for substation construction, probably the best department. But nevertheless, I'm going down the right road. All right. So March 5th rolls around. So I've got just a few days shy of 6 months with the company. March 5th is a very rainy day, very wet weather. I'm working at a substation. I don't think it matters, but I'm working at Middletown Substation in Northern California. I got my wife's at home. My wife's at home with my younger kids. They're all pretty little at the time. I'm working in a sub. It's raining. It's pouring down rain. We have a 2-ton flatbed truck, a rental, stake side bed with the stakes off because we're loading up reels, huge reels of copper, conductor, multi-conductor, ground cable, you name it. We're loading them up with a grade all, lifting them up on the trailer, roll them into position, and then staking them in. So my buddy on the ground, Greg, is with me, and he's running the forklift, and I'm up on the truck. And by nature, I'm a very competitive person. I don't like to stand around. I like to do stuff. I like to be active as much as I can, unless I'm at home on the couch. But other than that, I'm a very active individual. So I like to go, and get it done. A lot of times when I'm doing a project, I state I'll go as long as I have materials and parts. I'll go until I'm done, no matter what happens. So same mentality at work. So I'm going and going. Pouring down rain. I got my rain gear on. I'm up on top of the flatbed of the truck. It's dumping. You know, my buddy Greg, he's bringing up the reels. I'm rolling them up, nailing them in, chalking them, strapping them down. And we're doing this for about an hour or so. Big old huge reels of copper cable. While we're doing it, we're interrupted. So we're interrupted by the guy coming to pick up the porta potties, the blue rooms. So he shows up, and this is well before porta potties had those containment bands underneath them to catch any overflow or for environmental reasons. So the porta potty guy shows up, and we have a handicap porta potty, so big, larger, oversized porta potty with a flat bottom, and it's in mud and water and rain. And he shows up to pick it up, and my buddy goes over to help him out, and the two of them are having a real hard time getting it to break suction from the flat bottom from the ground to get it to move. Normally in the dry weather, you can slide that thing across the ground. It's not a problem. But they're having a hard time getting to move. And I'm getting impatient, and I'm thinking, well, if I go out there, muscle it myself, because I'm a little bit larger of a guy, muscle it and get it to go and get it on their truck, I'll be able to go back to work. I don't want to stand here in the rain. It's cold, it's raining. So I thought, okay, I'm going to go do it. So I walk down to the end of the truck, and I think, okay, well, now I have a choice. And I had an actual conscious choice. I could do two things. I could break a rule and jump off the truck and take a chance of jacking my ankles or my legs up and go over there and help them out. Or I can do a 3-point stand or 3-point climb down and go down on my knees, grab the rail of the bed, turn around, 3 points, contact all times, and climb down and go help them. So I thought, I'll do that. Well, my problem was this, all right? 18 years of pain and discomfort is coming my way, all right? And that's where we are now. So my problem was this. I had leather gloves on. Leather gloves in the rain or snot. We didn't have any other gloves. We had leather gloves. That's what we used. So, and I wasn't going to work barehanded with horseshoe nails and cable and splinters and wooden reels and all that. So I walked to the end of the truck. I get down on my knees. I put my hands on the end of the truck. I go to spin around. I fall off the back of the truck. My hands slide out. I fall off. My hard hat comes off. I go straight down. I hit my forehead on the ground. I could feel my entire spine compression. The shock of my spine compress, it compressed. You can feel the whole thing compress. And I end up laying on my back in a puddle, pouring down rain. Why? Because I did it the best way I knew I could, the safest way I knew I could. There's no blame here in this example, my story, my situation. You know, it happened. It was a freak of nature. The tools we had at the time weren't the tools that we needed, but it is what it is. So I hit my head, my spine compresses. I do a motor check. I can move my fingers, I can move my toes, but I can't move anything else. And moments later, my buddy and the porta potty guy realized that, you know, something's wrong. They turn around, and there I am laying on the ground. I can't move. So they came over. They tried to get me to stand up. I couldn't stand up. I couldn't roll. Couldn't do anything. So they ended up dragging me out of the rain into a battery control room. I was in the battery room, and they tried to get a little portable chair for me to sit in, and I couldn't sit in it. I couldn't get up. So I'm laying there on the concrete, soaking wet from being rained on, laying there in a puddle. And I'm in the concrete. They put roll up a rain jacket, put it underneath my neck, and now they start making phone calls. All right, remember, my kids and my wife are at home, an hour and a half away from where I was. All right. So they make phone calls, call 911, search and rescue from Middletown shows up. They put me on a bodyboard. After putting my head in my neck in a brace, they put me on a bodyboard, and they nail me down on the bodyboard. So I'm strapped in 100% on the bodyboard. They throw me into the ambulance, if you will. Took, I think, 5 guys to lift me up. Put me in the ambulance, and they take me to Redbud Hospital in Clear Lake. While I'm at Redbud Hospital, they put me through the x-ray machine. I fractured 3 vertebrae in my neck, and later on in life I find out I have a compression fracture in T8 in my back. All right, so I'm nailed to this board. So think about this. Think about this as if this was you. So I'm strapped to a bodyboard, very uncomfortable bodyboard, for 18 hours. All right, yeah, 18 hours. That means they were helping me go to the bathroom. Think about that one too. That's pretty humiliating, all right? All right, so I'm strapped to a bodyboard for 18 hours. I'm an hour and a half away from my family. My family's at home with little ones. I have no clue what my wife's thinking. No idea. I don't know what's going through her mind. I don't know what my future looks like. I don't know if I'm able to walk again. I have no idea what's going on. All I know is I got a broken neck, my back hurts like you can't even imagine, and I'm nailed to a bodyboard because they can't move me. My neck's in a halo. My superintendent was there with me, which was comforting. He lived locally nearby. But other than that, I have no clue what's going to happen. So after 18 hours, laying on that bodyboard, they secure my neck. They give me a bunch of painkillers, and my superintendent's able to drive me home. Hour and a half, I'm out like a light. Wake up at home. I'm on the couch for 2 weeks before everything starts rolling with medical, and at that time, all the bones in my neck had fused together. Didn't know about my back yet. That came on later on in life, the crush in my back. I crushed T8 in my back, but that was linked to the accident as well. So here I am again. I was on the couch for about 4 months, I think it was. Literally on the couch for 4 months in a halo and my neck secured. Couldn't move anything. No clue what my future looks like. All right? So I've got less than 6 months when the injury happens. You're secured in with the union, it's at 6 months, right, in a union position. I got people at work telling me they might let you go because you got injured in under 6 months. Now you're a liability. Holy cow, here I am, sitting on the couch at home, broken neck, in a halo, with my family, my wife, my little ones, with the potential in my mind that I might lose my job. I won the lottery 6 months earlier. All right? So I lost 1.5 inches in height. I was 6'2" before this happened. I've got numerous neurological problems. I've got narrowing of the canals in my spine, so all the nerves are being impinged on. You name it. I wanted to put everything up on the slide here that I go through, but it's not worth it. But think about that impact on, a simple mistake, all right? A simple opportunity that if I had the different kind of gear, I would have been more successful, but I wasn't. And here I am talking to you. If this hadn't happened, I wouldn't be here today. I know that in my heart. I'd still be out building substations. But because that happened, fate, right, brought me here today, gave me the opportunity to speak in front of everybody and do all the other conferences and safety speeches I've given in the past. So every day I wake up, I'm in discomfort and pain. I take 2 different antidepressants. I take several different painkillers. I go through what's called a radio frequency ablation, RFA. They actually go in, they put a needle in my neck every year, and they burn off the nerve endings in my spine. And it gives me about 80% relief for about 7 months. And this is my life. This is what I get to live with. I can't go out there and play with my kids for any length of time. I coach kids. I coach my kids' soccer. I'm able to do that. But I can't do the big honey-do list items without having to take a lot of time off and take breaks. It's a hard life. I don't know what the future looks like. I don't know what the next 15 years looks like. No idea. Maybe they'll have a miraculous, finding in medical and they'll be able to fix me up. Who knows? Maybe they won't. But our arthritis is setting in, everything else is setting in, and life is becoming harder and harder and harder. So think about that the next time you want to take a chance. Think about that the next time you take a risk. Think about wanting to go on a long bike ride with your kid, but you can't, or you question it because if you go on too long of a ride that the next day you're going to be paying for it. It took me 3 weekends to build a 60-foot long fence. Think about that. It should have been done in 2 days. It took me 3 weekends to do it. I can't perform that well anymore. All right. It took me 7 months to rebuild an engine. Not everything works the same way it used to anymore. The nervous system is completely compromised because of something that happened, a freak accident 18 years ago. Would I change it if I couldn't go back? Oh yeah, in a heartbeat. But I wouldn't be here today sharing this with you. So think about that the next time you take a chance. Think about your family. Think about your loved ones. Think about the risks that are really out there. All right? Think about the opportunity you have to turn something bad into something good. Think about the opportunity you have to teach those people how to do things the right way. Make sure that they know they have the right tools to be successful. It's not worth getting hurt. So safety starts at home. And this is why I work safe. All right. This is my ECOS picture that I put on there. And then that's my little guy right now. I have 4 children, but he's my smallest right now. He's a little guy. He's 6 years old. He is a blast. And he is my safety guy at home. This little guy, he calls me out whenever I do something unsafe. And I teach him the best way I can to be the safest and most successful little kid he can be, which is awesome. Awesome to a point, but he's also doing it at school now too. So we'll see how well that works for him. And yes, for all you COVID people out there online, yes, that is a FR-rated safety mask. Yes, a double layer FR-rated mask that I'm wearing with last year's soccer team. And I'll keep coaching my son for as long as I can. But what a blast, what an opportunity it is to take whatever time I can on the outside of work, and share it with the family and friends. All right, so he is my current inspiration to keep on going. He's going to keep me as young as he can. So remember that the next time you do something that's questionable. Remember that the next time you want to take a shortcut. Remember that the next time you think a risk is worth following. Pick up that phone, call up your kids, call up your 6-year-old and ask them, hey, Is it okay if I take a shortcut that might get me killed? Is it okay if I take a shortcut that might get me hurt? I guarantee that little guy on the end of the phone is going to tell you, oh no, Dad, you can't do it that way. He'll probably tell you how to do it, which is even more awesome. He's actually done that for me. He's given me some tips for tailboards, which is kind of cool. All right, so this is where it starts. Safety starts at your home. If you can build a positive safety culture at home, I guarantee that safety culture is going to follow you to work. All right. So it's often said that we spend more time with our crews than with our families. Think about that. I heard this a lot on the COVID one when we were dealing with COVID-19. It's often said that we spend more time with our crews than with our families. Repeat that to yourself as many times as you can. And think about it, because this was told to me many a time when I talked to many a crews. All right? If this is true and you respect your crews as you do your family, then please make sure you take every opportunity to assure their safe return home. We owe it to each other. We owe it to our crews. We owe it to our family. You wouldn't let your family work unsafely. Why are you going to let your crew do it? Don't do it. So ask yourself, why do you work safe? And that's all I got. I appreciate your time. Thank you.